And hello, explorers of the Galar region. Thank you for joining us as we embark on our new journey here this week. And welcome to Soundproof. Of course, my name is Brendan Lewis, and I'm joined by Jake Muller, as always. Of course, you can find us on the internet at MrBDog46VGC and at Major Bowman underscore. Okay, I always forget. Yeah, I knew you had some punctuation.
Yeah.
But of course, we are your hosts, and we are back with it feels like a new era of, well, it is a new era of Pokemon here. A new era of Soundproof, as we've all finally had the opportunity to dive into Galar. And, you know, we're still kind of at that point in the game's coverage where things are still being learned, but, you know, we know enough. We've all played through the game, so we're definitely going to dive into that in the latter half of our podcast this week.
I'm really excited. I've been playing the games as much as I can, more than I should, as I think a lot of people can probably
I don't want to talk about it.
But yeah, they've been super fun. I have had a really, really good time playing through the games. Some of the new Pokemon are really cool. Some of the Galarian forms, specifically, you know, the one that is a Poison Fairy type that got a new ability that I've mentioned too many times, so I won't name.
I don't even know which one you're talking
about.
Yeah,
it's honestly, it's really obscure. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast. But
I don't think it even has facial hair, so I'm not sure why we would talk about it.
True. I don't associate with anyone that doesn't have facial hair.
Yeah, exactly. So we have all this information about kind of the way that new things are, and we're just now kind of getting into the point where there are some intrepid souls who have kind of like moved on from the actual game and the post-game and are actually kind of diving into some of the competitive formats that are starting to blossom here. Of course, we don't actually know the VGC rules yet, but there are a couple of, you know, the Battle Spot doubles format is up, so we're starting to see, you know, some of the Pokemon that are going to rise to the top of the charts here. But when we'll discuss that briefly as we touch on some of the new Pokemon. But before that, we do have for you, of course, our weekly dive through some of the Pokemon ending in, you know, whatever number we have, and we have some new ones to add on this week. I know a few weeks ago we talked about how we were sad because we were losing one Pokemon in the countdown, but now they're back.
Thanks, Galar.
So that's exciting, and then we will take you through the top of the Ultra Ladder this week, as well as some of the majors that have happened, and we will give you a sneak and exclusive preview of the top of the Battle Spot doubles.
It's Battle Stadium, Brendan.
Battle Stadium doubles.
New and improved.
On Showdown, which it's of course it's the stadium. It's not a spot anymore. It's
right.
A stadium in Galar. So look forward to that. This is exclusive content, by the way.
That you can't find by clicking on ladder on Pokemon Showdown.
No, it's exclusive because it's presented by our voices.
Exactly.
All right, so let's jump right into it here. Of course, we are starting with our Dash 11 Pokemon, and we're beginning continuing our tour through the first, original Pokemon. And we're at number 11 here, which, of course, is Metapod. I say, of course, like most people would know.
Who
of
doesn't
course,
know
the number
that?
11 is Metapod, but it's like it's a bridge Pokemon. I think Caterpie's really great. I think Butterfree's really great, and of course its Gmax move its Gmax and its Gmax move are really cool. But Metapod itself is just kind of a bridge. Although I do look back fondly. I don't know if you watched the anime like in its infancy, Jake.
I did.
But I always think about that episode where Ash is fighting that bug trainer, and it's just two Metapods, and they're like standing out in the sun, and it's like, Metapod harden.
Yeah, that like. I don't really like Metapod or Kakuna just for the reason that they're really annoying to like play against or use when you're playing through the games.
Yeah, they invalidate like physical moves.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So it was always just a grind fest to get past them. Like I agree, Caterpie and Butterfree are both great, but Metapod, it's kind of a stepping stone.
Agree. 111 is Rhyhorn, and that's another kind of base form Pokemon that doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but Rhydon, Rhyperior, then maybe we can have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, Rhydon is cool. Rhyperior is neat. Rhyhorn exists.
It exists for the glory of its evolved forms,
right.
Really.
Yeah, not much to say.
Right. 211 is Quillfish, which is it's like kind of an interesting Pokemon. I think like the thing that I've always thought about Quillfish, and even when we were just playing Ultra Series recently, is it would be really neat if it could use Swift Swim and Intimidate at the same time.
Oh,
but other than that, it's kind of terrible.
Yeah, if it had like actual stats, it would be kind of good.
Yep.
It's a cool design. I think I like the way they did it, and I like the typing is perfect for it, and the aesthetics are great.
Yep.
Not really much application outside of that, but it was always. I remember it was pretty difficult to find when you played through Gold and Silver too. So I
It
always kind of
was,
enjoyed that.
yeah. It was one of those Pokemon that I don't think I even knew existed until like post game or something like that.
Right.
And interestingly, it had a week in the sun in like very early Sun series when everybody was spamming Ludicolo,
Oh,
and
I remember that.
Quillfish was like the counter to Ludicolo.
Uh,
So that's interesting. 311 is Plusle. I think those are cool Pokemon. You know, some of the like the Pika clones, as they're called affectionately, of course, get a little bit tiring. But Plusle and Minun, I always thought like were kind of cool, and they really like you don't really get the spirit of them until you see them in the anime where they're like cheering together and they're
right.
like rubbing together and doing the electricity stuff like sparks that they do, which is neat.
I'm pretty sure they
Um,
were like created to embody Helping Hand, because Helping Hand
yeah,
that came to be in Gen 3 too. I think they
right.
were like, hey, let's make these two Pokemon that showcase Helping Hand and click Helping Hand in single battles and always like, only Helping Hand, which I
Yeah,
found funny when
like
you're
oh
like
right.
fighting them in trainer battles. They would always
Yeah,
Helping
it's
Hand.
not like one of them always uses Helping Hand.
It's like
Both of
both,
them
yeah.
always use Helping Hand. It's like, no, sir, after you.
No, it's a cool
Um,
concept though, like the plus and minus for the
yeah, it
charges, and
is.
I
Yeah,
like
and
it.
I think again, I think the spirit of them just doesn't come through in the game
Yeah.
so much. A little bit more now that Plus and Minus have like real distribution, and you're not forced to use Plusle and Minun to
Uh,
actually get the best out of those abilities. But 411 is Bastiodon, and I know you said you liked this one a lot, Bastiodon. I am not really a huge fan.
I just think it's cool. Like he looks cool. Like
You have wide face.
yeah, it like perfectly matches the aesthetic you could tell they were going for. Like it
Yeah,
was
oh,
supposed to be like
they
big fat
captured it.
wall dude, and that's
Yep.
exactly what it looks like. So I think they did a good job
Mhm.
with it.
And I think even he was or Bastiodon had Metal Burst as that was like a signature move for it back in the day,
I think
right?
so. Yeah.
Like to really embody the fact that it's like it's gonna eat up your attack with its face and then like spit it back at you.
Yeah.
Neat one. 511 as we we initiate our let's see 6 weeks 3-month tour
Oh god.
through the elemental monkeys. The first of which is Pansage, and I am. It's. I think I said what? Who was I? Oh, I was talking about Watchog.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Watchog, Pansage, like all the elemental monkeys. I'm not saying I'm a Dexateer, but nobody would miss the elemental
What do you
monkeys.
say? Apparently, you just don't like the Forgotten Gen 5 Pokemon. That's what I'm getting.
I
here.
don't. I very much don't like the Forgotten Gen 5 Pokemon. That is a correct and astute observation.
Of the Gen 5, like of the Elemental Monkeys, rather, I liked Pansage the most because I watched a lot of the black and white anime, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was
Silence
Silent.
Pansage was cool, and I liked Silent in general. So
Yeah.
I like Pansage. The rest, pretty inconsequential to me.
The grass ones are maybe the least derpy looking of like
Yes,
the others because the fire
Fire doesn't look too bad, but like
and
the
but Simipour is like,
Yeah.
oh my god, get this out of my face. So we've got that to look forward to in 3 more episodes. 611 is Fracture, which is I think we talked about this, a really cool line.
Mhm.
And was not cold, so all of you Haxorus fans out there, if you want to get your licks in, and by all means, bust it out. But yeah, a neat line overall.
Mhm.
711 is Gourgeist, and we talked about Pumpkaboo last time. I like Pumpkaboo a lot. Gourgeist not so much, but do enjoy the line.
I like Gourgeist because it's one of my favorite cries in the game.
Can you please give me
No.
an impression of what the
I don't work
cry
for free, Brendan.
Gourgeist? Oh god.
No, I used it some back in like 2014 on a VGC team, and it was kind of fun to hear the cries. And it's like
Mhm.
I like playing with fat mons, and Gourgeist was a pretty fat mon in that meta, so it was
I
cool.
can't think of what its cry sounds like. I can think of what Pumpkaboo sounds
It's
like, but I
like
can't think of Gourgeist.
desperate and like ethereal. Those are the best two words
Okay.
I could use to describe it right now.
That's also how I would describe myself.
Wow.
And 811 this week is Thwackey, but we're also going to take the opportunity to touch on Grookey, who of course is the first Pokemon of the new generation and got missed by a week. So Grookey and Thwackey. I love Grookey.
I do too.
I started with Grookey. He bang on rock with stick. And then he evolves into Thwackey, which I do not like so much.
Yeah, Thwackey. Grookey's definitely the cutest of the three. I will say that.
Oh, by far, not only the cutest, but definitely the best of the three. Like,
Okay, yeah, I'll give you
regardless of
that.
aesthetic, I would argue
Yeah.
that.
I don't know. I like Grookey a lot. I was very, very torn between Grookey and Sobble. I eventually
Hmm.
went with Sobble because that was the first one that struck me whenever the first three were released, like
Hmm.
months ago. So I stayed true to that, but I do like Grookey a lot. Thwacky. It's like
Thwacky
a
doesn't do it for me.
no, me neither.
Thwacky really doesn't do it for me.
It's kind of sad.
I mean, like we've had some of these starter lines before. I would say even pretty frequently where you get like a cute first form and then a really cool final form, and then they kind of like have to fill in the blanks in the middle.
Quilladin.
And Quilladin is exactly
this
the
is
one that I
this
think
is
of.
a call out.
Quilladin was a vomit onto like somebody just threw up onto a piece of
Oh,
paper,
God.
and that was Quilladin. And then put some spikes on it so that it looks like it could actually be part of that line. Thwacky, not nearly as bad as Quilladin, but like kind of suffers from the same syndrome where
Right.
it's not defining like the other two are.
Yeah.
So that's 8-11. We'll talk about Rillaboom next week, which I'm excited about. We'll talk about Rillaboom a little bit later too, but for
Yeah.
now, we're gonna head forward into our two ladders this week.
This is probably going to
we'll
be our
kind of-
last ultra ladder. I
Yeah,
imagine.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit, but we're kind of like going through the motions here, and we're in late Ultra Series. I think only locals are remaining at this point.
No,
Are
we
there
still
any
actually we have two
majors
regionals. There's
Oh, dear
Daytona
God,
and
I'm
San
so sorry.
Diego.
left? You poor people.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Godspeed.
But at the top of the Ultra ladder, we have for our ladders this week cut down to 10 teams for both, because I don't think anybody is really fully invested in either of the two formats right now. So we'll give you a little taste of both. At the top of the Ultra ladder this week is Paul Chua himself running a team of Necrozma, Duskmane, Groudon, Salamence, Tapu Lele, Stakataka, and Jumpluff, which has become very much a meta team as we kind of like what's the best way to describe the way that we're making our way through the end of
Slog.
Ultra Series? Stumble?
Yeah. Crawl desperately.
Crawl? Yeah. be forcibly dragged. Anyway,
I think
yeah,
that's the team he
so-
got second with, right? Or did he top four?
I
At the
believe
last
so,
regional,
yeah.
I forget.
And then somebody else was using it. Did somebody? I'd have to go back and look at results. Is it in either of these last two
No,
majors?
it was Richmond.
Gavin. Oh no, he had Jumpluff, but he's got Lunadon. I thought I saw somebody else with this, but Juan Salerno was top 4 with this team. That's
Oh
who it
yeah.
was. Yeah.
Well, he was Don Wings, but
Um,
same deal.
Same team basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So this is kind of meta now. It's funny that we were talking about it a little bit in Monarchs, and Tommy said something to the effect of like, "I'm really surprised it took everybody so long to catch up on Light That Burns the Sky, not Incineroar."
Yeah.
Or something to
If
that
you hit it
effect.
into not Incineroar, you win.
Yeah, you just like take a knockout. So yeah, we're in Duskmane meta, or not, well, just Necrozma meta in general. So if you've got some locals coming up, bust out your Yveltals. Number
Please.
2 on the ladder, or number 2 on our countdown here is Lunala, Rayquaza, which exists, Tapu Fini, Incineroar, Nihilego, and Bisharp.
I love
So
it's like still around online, but it still has like yet to make like an actual tournament finish.
hmm And I would hazard a guess that it probably won't at this point, especially if it's using Bisharp at the top of the ladder right now.
Yeah, I mean, I
Not
think
that I have any
Javier
personal vendettas
Valdez
against
got
Bishop,
second
but-
with it at Latium,
Mhm.
but that's also Javier
Oh, did he?
Valdez.
Did he
So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. No, he didn't have Bisharp. He had Mandibuzz.
Oh, I
as
meant
his
I
start
meant
pick.
Lunaray.
Oh, okay. Yeah, his teams don't count as a meta
Yeah.
trend. He's a phenomenal player, but his teams do not count as a meta
They don't count for
trend.
anything.
Yeah, this is the same conversation we had with Jamie, where like,
Right.
Jamie, why don't other people use your teams? At 3 on the ladder, I'm pretty sure this is the Razor,
is.
right? Who's using? I just guessed based
Yeah.
on looking at the Pokemon. It's the same team. Kyogre, Yveltal, Mawile, Tapu Lele, Kartana, and Gothitelle.
We tore into that
we've
enough last
we've
week.
touched on that. Just like Gothma, you can use it now if you want to
Well-
in Galar. If you want to use normal Mawile,
One of those
by
is
all
good.
means.
One of them is. Ooh.
And now we have new Mawile. Zacian is like real Mawile.
Right.
At 4 is Lunala, Kyogre, Tapu Lele, Tapu Koko, Lucario, Rabombi, which is annoyingly actually like a popular and good team.
Yeah.
Even though it has Lucario and Rabombi,
Uh-huh.
but it started to get results. At 5, Groudon, Lunala, Salamence, Tapu Fini. Why do we have 2 Bisharp? Incineroar and Bisharp.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have 10 teams and we pulled 2 Bisharp
I know.
for Ultra Series.
Ladder was just trying to mess with us this week.
Dear Lord, people. Bisharp though will have a niche in 2020.
A knockoff-less niche.
In a more restricted format, and having Defiant, which is no longer the only check to intimidate. So maybe not. At 6 here on our list, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Tapu Koko, Incineroar, Stakataka, and Kartana. There's a Rayogre for you. That sure.
that sure do be a Rayogre.
That sure do be a Rayogre. Our 7th team on the ladder, I believe, is the team that Bingji was running to get second at, what regional was it? Portland. Seattle? Portland. Rayquaza, Palkia, Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Incineroar, and Stakataka.
I think he had Kartana over Koko.
Yeah, maybe he. Let me look
something like that.
We have that up. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He had Kartana over Koko. And I feel like we saw this team on the ladder a couple weeks ago, Jake, and I said I had a really hard time with it,
yeah.
and you laughed at me.
Yeah.
Okay. And now it got second at a regional, so I feel a little bit better about it.
At least slightly.
Because it was kind of like meme ladder trash, I thought, for a while, but now that it has its result, I can sleep at night. At 8 on our ladder, Yveltal, Kyogre, Metagross, Tapu Koko, Incineroar, and Ferrothorn. I believe that's the team that Megan Rattle was top 8 at Worlds with a Ferrothorn over a Moongus.
Oh, that sounds right, yeah.
Which is like, okay, it's an objective. I don't know about objective. It's a downgrade.
No, say it.
It's an objective downgrade.
Yeah.
Ferrothorn is objectively a worse Pokemon than a Moongus.
Then
so nothing
pretty much
convinces me
anything.
otherwise. Yep. It's way down there. They should have culled it.
I wish.
At 9, Rayquaza, Kyogre, Tapu Fini, Incineroar, Stakataka, and Pikachu.
See, like, Pikachu always has, like, its one tournament that it, like, cuts or almost cuts, so I guess this is its makeup for not doing that this year.
Who's doesn't, what's his name? He's a Texas, Max Deese is always using teams like this where he just kind of, like, tosses, some sort of lightning rod user.
He likes Raichu
team.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he had some teams where he's using Pikachu.
I mean, sure.
With the last team on the ladder, Groudon, Xerneas, Salamence, Tapu Koko, Incineroar, and Shedinja. We've probably already taken up like a sum of 20 to 30 minutes of your life if you've listened to all these episodes talking about that one team in particular. Yeah. So we'll let dead things rest where they lie.
Should we go to tournaments first and then move on to BSD?
I think that's a good idea. We can get a better segue.
I don't want to jump into like Gen 8 and then go back to Ultra because that's really boring.
Yeah, right now we're just doing a chore and then
right.
we're doing
we
things
talk
we
about
actually enjoy. Yeah, so anyway, we'll touch on Portland first.
Okay,
yeah?
Sure.
Okay, so that was 2 weekends ago, and of course was won by Joe UX9, who was, based on his early Ultra results, was bound to win something at some point.
Yeah, I think this was like his third regional in a
like,
row that he had cut, which is super impressive.
Yeah, unreal run for him, especially as kind of like an up-and-coming player.
Yeah.
And he was using that same team that he's been, spamming basically with the Groudon, Yveltal, Metagross, Incineroar, Tapu Koko, and Venusaur. And I think we touched briefly on it, Jake, but this team and then also the team that's runner-up kind of lends a lot of weight to the idea that the metagame is a crapshoot right now. Just take something that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure, like we mentioned just a few minutes ago, Bingji was in second with that Rayquaza Palkia team. And I'm pretty sure that's something he's been using for a long time, too. It's not like he just came up with it recently. So
right.
A lot of people are going with comfort picks. Like in top 4, we had...
Yeah, I was going to say, all of top 4 is comfort picks.
Yeah, like Gavin in 4th place with Lunadon, Jumpluff. That's not even close to a surprise. And then Steven Mia in 3rd with his World's Top Cut team. So 2 comfort picks there that are still working, obviously.
Ragav and Chemo with Ryoga in top 8. So there's some more comfort picks for you. And then rounding out the 2 teams in top 8 were Miles Kristalovich, who is using Bisharp on Lunadon. Yep. But the same other 5 there, Groudon, Lunala, Salamence, Incineroar, Fini, and then, close your eyes and pick something.
Right.
And then the last team was, like we mentioned, our one exposure to Ultra Necrozma meta here in 8th place with a team that is similar to the one that Nils won Richmond with. That has Groudon, Dawnwings, Metagross, Tapu Lele, Smeargle, and Excelgor. So that's kind of what the meta looks like now.
There's some other kind of cool stuff throughout the rest of
The
top
quote unquote
16.
meta. Yeah, yeah.
Terry Hong had Rayquaza Duskmane with Porygon 2 Suicune. So that's kind of
Mhm.
interesting. There's a Lopunny that got 10th place with Nate Monroe. The Joe UX9
Mhm.
team also made top 16 under Chongjun Peng. So a
Mhm.
little bit of a repeat there. A couple other Lunadon teams. Uh,
Aaron Chang at 13 has that Rabombi
oh
team that
yeah.
we touched
hmm
briefly on with Lucario, and then there is a Breloom at 15 that was being powered by Renee. So,
It's like the Ken Shedinja team, but the Shedinja is a
yeah,
Breloom.
without Shedinjas, and I support that with all of
Please
my heart.
more.
I support switching Shedinja out, even if it's something like I'm sure that's a Scarf Breloom, right?
Oh, who knows?
I feel like it has to be. Even if you want to use something like that, by all
Yeah.
means. So that's Portland.
We got Latium, the Brazil
Yeah,
International
LATAM.
Championships.
Oh, so according to Trainer Tower here, the two events had the
I was
same
gonna
number of
I was gonna
entrants in
point that out.
VGC. I was just looking
So we
at
had
that.
the Sao Paulo Regionals.
Ultra Series
last
is
weekend.
dead, people. The Sao Paulo special event, which was won, of course, by James Beck, who continues to cement himself
Yeah,
as one of the best players in the world right now. I think his 2019 season is one of the best seasons of all
it
time at
has
this
to
point.
be like.
It has to be, right?
Well, how many
I'd
regionals
have
was
to go
it?
back
Three
and
that he
look.
won.
He's got at least two regional wins, if not
Yeah.
three. An international win, an international runner-up, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then world's top
Yeah.
four. Like,
That's insane.
what the hell? Um, that's ridiculous. Like in a game like this, it's impossible, especially in large major events, to have that run of success over an entire season.
Yeah. I know. He's had a.
That's just like unreal. Like you have to at some point you're gonna go X3 at a regional, right? No,
I mean, maybe he
I
did,
guess
but like
not.
every other tournament he went to was golden.
Yeah, it's just unreal,
Yeah.
unreal.
No, just crazy
Um,
season from James.
so he is just like transcendent at this point. This just kind of like caps it
Yeah.
off. Um, Anyway, the team he was using was the Groudon, Dawnwings, Necrozma, Salamence, Tapu Lele, Stakataka, and Excelgor, which is making kind of a late season charge, and it kind of represents my thoughts on kind of like the format as we close it out here, where it's just one of those brain dead things where you can like I don't know what the hell this team like. Let's throw Lele Excelgor in and
Right.
see what the hell happens.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
think it makes sense. Excelgor is a really good Pokemon at like enabling hyper offense, and that's exactly what this team is.
Yeah, yep, definitely. At number 2, of course, was Javier Valdez, as we mentioned earlier. Both teams, interestingly, had terrain plus seed Pokemon, which was not something that
Oh,
was largely seen
was
over the course of
Mandibuzz
Ultra, but
Mystiseed?
I assume it was.
I don't know. That would make sense.
I just kind of was speculating. Now that you've called me on it.
No, I thought you might have known something I didn't.
No, I don't know. But he was using Lunala, Rayquaza, Metagross, Tapu Fini, Mandibuzz, and Togedemaru.
Yeah.
And I think he's been using, like, at least 5 of those Pokemon. I know he had Xerneas Rayquaza for a long time, but I'm pretty sure he's always had that Rayquaza, Metagross, Tapu Fini. Oh, no, he had a Gastrodon at some point.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's. I think Xerneas.
he's been, like,
Xerneas Gastrodon over
yeah.
Luna Togedemaru is what he had at NAIC.
Okay, yeah, because he's been recycling pieces of it, and I only caught the stream briefly. Admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of it, but I'm pretty sure he still had the Surf Rayquaza.
Yeah, he did.
Even though he doesn't have
Right.
Gastrodon anymore, but Surf Rayquaza is a staple. At third on the ladder, another player who's having a ridiculous season is Eric Rios.
Yep.
Who's in the top of every event that he's attended all over the world, including Worlds.
I think he
Um,
tweeted something like he cut every event he went to in Ultra Series.
That's insane. Anyway, he's using the Parish Xerneas Groudon version, which is something that we've seen him and PokeAlex use quite a
Yeah.
bit over parts of the season when they weren't using their rain team there. And at fourth was Juan Salerno, who I believe was making his first appearance at a Masters event.
Oh, cool.
If I'm not incorrect, but he was definitely a senior last season. I don't know if this is his first Master event, but definitely his first Masters major
Mhm.
cut, and made it to the top 4 of an international championship.
Yeah.
So super strong showing for him with Groudon, Dawnwings, Necrozma, Salamence, Tapu Lele, Stakataka, and Jumpluff. So that's kind of like where we're at with the meta at this point.
Yeah, Serapis
And
coming
then
in
rounding.
5th with
Yep.
a XL team, Incineroar, Kangaskhan, Crobat, Smeargle. I think that's something we've seen him and Ashton use in recent tournaments.
Yeah, I think that's what Joe Castigliolo churned out a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure that
Oh, you're
that
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
combination
think he used
is
that at
pretty.
Richmond. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, because Gallade was the tournament
yeah,
before. Yeah. Um, at 6, Paul Lopez Buiza using his quote unquote team at this quote unquote his team. I put the quotes in the wrong place there. With the X-Ray, Incineroar, Coco, Amoonguss, and then Gengar is the slot, normal Gengar that he's had in that eighth Pokemon slot there. Cesar Reyes with another Xerneas Lunala variant that features Kangaskhan, Incineroar, Tapu Koko, and Amoonguss, so a slightly different take than the previous one.
hmm
And then at 8th place, Yuya Tada, who's a Japanese player that travels well. I've seen him in cuts at a couple
yeah,
majors. Also using X-Ray, Kangaskhan, Incineroar, Tapu Fini, and Amoonguss. I thought X-Ray was dead, but here we are.
yeah. It had a pretty strong showing here. It looks like 2 top 8 appearances. Words are hard.
Mm-hmm.
So not something I would have expected from it, but pretty good.
Yeah, good for it. And then kind of the rest of top 18 is actually very standard looking as I glance over
Yeah.
a little bit here. Yuri was running Rayquaza, Duskmane, Necrozma, which is a combination that we haven't seen a whole lot of. So that's an interesting restricted combo that he piloted effectively at this tournament. And then we do have a Mawile checking in at 14, being piloted by Andrew Ding. I believe that he's been running the Groudon, and then I don't know if he always had Duskmane, but he's been running Groudon, Necrozma, Mawile, Lele. For a couple of events
Yeah.
here, and he secured his invite, I believe, with this
Oh,
tournament
cool.
finish. And he's a first-year player,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Always nice to see good folks make a charge, and or new folks make a charge, especially and good
Both.
folks, I
Yeah.
suppose. But
Especially if they're both.
But yeah, hopefully we get some more nice new faces as we charge forward into 2020 here. So that's
Speaking
going
of
to
which.
effectively wrap up our Ultra Series coverage. I think maybe we'll just touch on whatever majors that
Yeah.
happen, but I don't feel like strongly about needing to go through the ladder at any point. I don't
Right.
think you do either,
I
Jake.
don't.
We've talked about it briefly. I am far more interested in what is taking place
Yes.
in Galar than what's taking place in Alola. So let us move forward into the inaugural edition of our
Wow.
Battle Stadium doubles
Yeah.
here.
So just to reiterate, these aren't officially the VGC ladders yet. We don't know what the VGC format for 2020 is, but this is
Right.
the Battle Stadium
does
doubles, which is like the online ladder in Sword and Shield, and
It's as close as we can
it's
get right
presumably
now, okay?
very similar to VGC 2020. I guess we might have some slight differences, but we don't know yet.
Yeah.
So
I think at this point it's just a matter of whether or not Dynamax is allowed, whether or not Gigantamax is
yeah,
allowed.
probably.
Correct? That's just kind of where we're
Right.
at. So anyway, at the top of the ladder this week, we pulled the top 10 available teams, and I would hope that people aren't like hiding their matches.
This was
already,
10 of
but-
11, so there's only one.
Okay, good. So somebody is hiding
There
their
was
matches
one.
already. Darn it. Okay, so the first team this week is Dracozolt, which I'm really excited about. Mimikyu, Rotom H, Braviary, Aegislash, and Snorlax. Old friend Snorlax returns and is doing the same thing as always. But
Not
yeah,
even
we're,
Snorlax, it's Mimilax.
Oh, it's
too.
Mimlax. Yeah, Mimilax Rotom H actually makes a lot of sense. And obviously Aegislash is a really good Pokemon. And Braviary is getting very strong returns early in the season as well. People are slapping that onto sand,
Yeah.
as I understand it, and getting some pretty good results. So Dracozolt here is obviously a new Pokemon, one that stands out a little bit from the rest of the team.
Yeah, Dracozolt is the only new addition, but it's pretty cool. It's one of the 4 fossil Pokemon. And
They're all I honestly love the new fossil
They're
Pokemon.
so,
I
like,
think they're really cool
so
looking.
sad.
Yeah, it's funny because in the past, the idea being that these Pokemon have gone extinct, the fossil Pokemon that is as a
Yeah.
whole, but they really like in the Pokedex entries of this generation really like emphasize heavily that these Pokemon are ridiculous,
Yeah.
and that's the reason that they went extinct.
Yeah.
So Dracozolt obviously is is this little dragon thing that has a big. But anyway, it has Volt Absorb and Hustle, so it has at least the capacity to like be useful and pump out some damage, depending on what kind of position you can get it into. It looks like that's kind of another way for that team. Looks like it might benefit from a bulky water check as well.
Yeah,
so
true.
so that might be what that's doing there. I could have talked about those fossils for a long time. I'm glad I cut
We can do it
myself
later.
off. At 2 on the ladder is Tyranitar Excadrill. Get used to
Yeah.
seeing that. Corviknight, Galarian Darmanitan, Conkeldurr, and Rotom Wash.
Sand is getting a lot
Uh,
of hype early,
it's
which,
very
and I think it's for good
heavily
reason.
leaned on.
But
Yeah.
I, especially because the supporting cast for it is so strong now. Like you mentioned, Braviary gets thrown on sand.
Mhm.
Corviknight's another really strong partner. Both of them have speed control. With
I
Tailwind,
think somebody was saying Dragapult is like a big member of those offensive sand cores.
I could see
too.
that. Yeah, but like Corviknight
Yeah.
and Braviary are both intimidate deterrents too, which is big for both Tyranitar and Excadrill.
Mhm.
So I think we'll be seeing those a lot. Rotom Wash, I think the Rotoms are going to be good. We saw Heat on the first team. This is Wash here. There's a Rotom cut a few teams down. I think they're all going to be solid. We know how good Rotom can be in these restricted formats like 2014. So I would expect to see that pop
Right.
up pretty often.
And when we had Japan Sand running around, your choice of bulky water was always the big,
Yeah.
choice of how that team was going to function. And obviously, Rotom Wash has always, in non-restricted formats at least, been one of the best bulky water types that's
Yeah.
out there, thanks to a Levitate and the electric typing. So we'll definitely see a good bit of that. And the one thing on that team is the Galarian Darmanitan, which looks totally ridiculous, but its ability is literally choice
Yeah.
band, and you can give it another item.
Yeah, you can run double choice ban, which is so
Yeah,
stupid.
and even the Zen mode is kind of nuts. The original Darmanitan was, if you wanted to run the Zen mode, you have to like prepare it to be a special attacker, and then when it was outside of Zen mode, you weren't as
Yeah.
effective. But in Galar, it doubles down on the offensive, and Fire Ice is just like a completely ridiculous typing offensively. It was one that I never expected to see, but cool Pokemon. At 3 on the ladder is Gyarados, Rotom Heat, Dragapult, Excadrill, Braviary, and Conkeldurr. So a lot of pieces of the sand core that we expect to see just without the
Mhm.
sand. And interestingly, that's not even a necessary piece of it anymore, because you can use Max Rockfall and get your own sand up.
Yeah, I think Excadrill is like, I think it'll actually be good without sand, even like a Mold Breaker set, especially if
Mhm.
the Rotoms stick around. So like you
Right.
can, a lot of teams, Earthquake immunities are just going to be Rotom and maybe one other thing, but if you Mold Breaker
Mhm.
past Levitate, then it's going to be pretty strong. I think
Right, and you
Gyarados is getting a lot of hype
even
too.
if you
It's really good
What is?
at.
Oh,
Yeah,
Gyarados.
I think it's a
Yeah,
really
big
good
time.
Dynamax user, just because
Mhm.
it has so much good coverage and its max moves are pretty strong.
Mm-hmm. At 4 on the ladder, Tyranitar, Milotic, Corviknight, Excadrill, Rotom Cut, and Arcanine. So again, like this is, you're starting to see some frequent players here. The Sand Core with a flying type and an Intimidate and a bulky
Yeah.
water. Like the formula is there.
Yeah, I think it's there, and I think people are obviously going to experiment with the different pieces to stack in with it. But the common threads there are going to be the Tyranitar, the Excadrill, one of Corviknight and Braviary probably, and then another Earthquake immune.
Definitely, and we're going to see that. I think there's another couple teams as we go down the
Yeah.
list here that we'll touch on that again. At 5 on the ladder, though, we're going to go very much in the opposite extreme with a team of Charizard, Torkoal, Liepard, Rhyperior, Mimikyu, and Gastrodon, which is kind of an interesting team because it looks like it has like a pretty hard Trick Room option. You assume that that's Gigantamax Charizard? I'm not really
Possible,
sure.
yeah.
I guess like the Solar Power Torkoal
Right.
stuff is there, and then Liepard is kind of tossed in for good measure. I guess Prankster speed control becomes pretty freaking good, assuming the speed changes are intended
Right.
and persistent, because Fake Out or Prankster Thunderwave effectively becomes like Quash at that
Yeah,
point.
it really does, which is, I think, one of the reasons Liepard is going to start seeing a little bit more usage.
Ah, God,
I know.
And then the other kind of thing to pull away from this is I think that hard Trick Room is like very much viable. A lot of the Pokemon that were introduced with the new generation are very slow and have their stats elsewhere. And also Gothitelle is like one of the best Pokemon in the format, and even Hatterene which gets Magic Bounce and can set Trick Room, is like really good as well. So there are a lot of ways to like set and abuse Trick Room, and I think that's going to be something that comes into play.
Yeah, I know. I think that Trick Room is going to have a lot more tools, and it'd be kind of cool to see what people do with them. Back in 2017, we had Gavin win 2 regionals in a row with hard Trick Room.
Yeah,
so,
with the hard TR. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if hard TR came back. Definitely agree with that.
At 6 on the ladder, Gothitelle, Toxtricity, Scrafty, Ludicolo, Pelipper, and Ferrothorn. There's been speculation that Rain is also going to be very good, and I'm pleased that the first time that Rain shows up on our show, it's not that like hard Rain
Oh my god.
nonsense that looks like that Battle Tower team and was running around for far too much of 2018, where it would have, like, in this case, Ludicolo, Pelipper, Dreadnought, Barraskewda, and I don't know, like
Pour one out for
Corviknight or
Politoed.
something like that.
Pour
What's
one
that?
out for Politoed. I'm so sad.
Yeah, poor Toad.
Every weather setter except Politoed is in this game.
I
All of them.
am sad that Politoed is gone also because Abomasnow checks it so well. But as we move on to the next team, we've got another Tyranitar Excadrill with Arcanine, Rotom Wash, Sylveon, and Braviary. And this is like the metagame at this point in the format.
It's kind of surprised Sylveon took this long to show up. I do think Sylveon's going to be really good. But again, I think it's a pretty good partner with those Pokemon, and obviously like the 2 Earthquake immunes with Braviary, Rotom, next to Excadrill.
Right.
Can't really go wrong.
Is this the first format that we've had T-Tar Excadrill without Landorus therein?
Probably.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that
Yeah,
now.
I think because Excadrill wasn't in 2014, so yeah, I think it is.
You're right. Interesting. A little scary, but interesting. At 8 here, we've got Duraludon, Reuniclus, Rotom H, Gyarados, Ferrothorn, and Hydreigon. So, of course, Duraludon is the new Steel Dragon that was introduced and does some interesting things. What does Stalwart is its ability?
It ignores
I don't remember what
redirection. So, like,
Yes,
it'll ignore
okay.
Follow Me or
They
Rage
did a lot of
Powder,
that.
but also something like Storm Drain.
Mm-hmm. And it also
it's also Mold Breaker, I think. It's like all those effects plus Mold
is that what
Breaker.
it does? Interesting. Okay. Well, as long as the distribution's
It's
low,
only
I guess you can do
Duraludon.
things like that. Yeah, it's only Duraludon. And it gets Steel Beam too, which is like Draco Meteor. What? It's stronger,
it's Mind
but it has
Blown.
the same.
You lose half your health.
Oh, it does. Oh, I thought it was just like special attack
no,
drop.
it's more like Mind Blown.
Interesting, but it does do a lot of
Yeah.
damage. Does do a lot of damage. At 9 on the ladder, Mamoswine, Gyarados, Corviknight, Dracozolt. Okay, maybe that's a thing. Grimmsnarl, and Conkeldurr.
Kind of cool. Mamoswine got buffed because of Oblivious being one of the like 19 abilities that ignores Intimidate now, so it's pretty
Yep.
neat.
Deserved nerf. Well deserved nerf. And Grimmsnarl is showing up for the first time. I think that Grimmsnarl is going to be really good.
I kind of do too. It's super strong.
It has fake out. Yeah. It's just like a prankster, but also it's going to like punch you in the
Yeah.
face.
And its G-Max move is kind of scary too.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically like a G-Max, like what's the
Yawn,
yawn,
yeah.
where it does damage, but then it puts the target to sleep the
Yep.
next turn. But it also gets fake out, and then we've talked about how good Prankster Thunderwave is all of a sudden. And then Fairy Dark is just like ridiculous.
unique,
It's like
yeah.
a super good typing, and it just like a lot of one of the things that's held back some of unique fairy types in the past is that like it hasn't gotten Moonblast or it doesn't get play
Yeah.
rough. Grimmsnarl has the moves that
Uh-huh.
it needs to be an offensive powerhouse. So I think that's a really interesting one, one that I'll keep an eye on. And then the last team on the ladder here is Sylveon, Arcanine, Hydreigon, Corviknight, Gastrodon, and Togedemaru.
Yeah. mean,
Gastrodon's
yeah.
interesting. Gastrodon checks sand.
I guess it does. Like, not super well though, because
Mhm.
it'll still take a bunch from like ground moves and dark moves. But yeah,
That's
I mean,
true.
it's there. This one's probably the least exciting
It
of the
earths-
10, but I see what they're
It
doing.
earth powers
That's
things.
true.
Yeah. And then Corviknight actually popped up like 3 or 4 times, like a steel type tailwind setter.
I'll talk about this more
I
in
guess.
the second half. I really like Corviknight.
I'm interested to know your thoughts on it because outwardly it does, like, other than mirror armor, that's the only thing that it has going for it over Skarmory, right? Which we've just absolutely never
Right.
seen. So anyway, we'll get into it a little bit later. But that's going to wrap up the first half of our show here. We are going to take a short break. It'll be slightly longer for us than it will for you. But we'll be back in just a couple seconds to touch on all of the new Galar type Pokemon, and we'll kind of embed a little discussion about the metagame as we go through it. We're not going to touch on the metagame, so you won't hear us talking too much about some of the sand stuff that's going on or other like old Pokemon that are defining the metagame, but we will talk about all of the relevant, this is subjective, and Jake and I have already argued about it, relevant Pokemon that are new in the Galar region. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. And welcome back, trainers. Hopefully that was quicker than it takes to get some of your quick spin Alcremie forms. But we're here now to talk about some of the Galar mons. Unfortunately, we will not be talking about Alcremie.
Yeah, bad.
Not really relevant. But to talk about some of the way that these new Galar mons, including Galarian forms and the new Pokemon, will contribute to the VGC meta, assuming that the rules look somewhat similar to the battle spot formats. You know, you never know. They could, do one of those things where they ban out the top 12 Pokemon. Anyway, we're expecting it to look a lot like the Battle Stadium doubles. So with that kind of idea in mind, we'll touch on some of these Galar mons. And I can see that Jake has decided to appropriately order the Galar mons in our list here. So go ahead, take it away.
Wheezing! I am a Wheezing stan. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to be the best of Pokemon.
Okay, I'm glad you said that and I didn't have to.
No, like I'm not crazy. Like,
okay,
I see things for what they are. I still love it, but I think it might have some kind of niche. Like Misty Surge, once it gets that, is going to be really good. I think people might overlook that a little bit. But Neutralizing Gas might have some like meme applications. I'm sure people are going to use it with like Slacking or, I guess Slacking is gone. Any of those Pokemon eventually, once they get to re-released, might have some fun.
I agree with you. I think meme applications are what Neutralizing Gas is going to see the most use for, and that Misty Surge will obviously be the reason to use it when it's attainable. We've seen how good Tapu Fini is, and obviously Weezing is not Tapu Fini, but Misty Surge is still really good. And if any of the other when Rillaboom gets its ability, or if Indeedee sees play, Misty Surge has always been best at kind of like neutralizing the other surges.
Right. Yeah.
We'll certainly see it do that in some capacity. The next on our list here is Darmanitan, which we touched briefly on. Basically it just does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Like a lot of damage.
I saw some preliminary stats for the OU singles ladder this afternoon, and it was number 2.
Is it going to get quick banned? Yeah.
It was number 2 in usage. I don't think it'll get quick banned. They're
ridiculous.
dealing with Dynamax right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. Somebody, it was one of the high ladder OU players that shows up on my Twitter all the time in recommended tweets, that he did like 61% to a Rotom Wash with a U-turn from Darmanitan. So like basically its ability is choice band, and then you can give it another boosting item.
Yeah.
There's a lot of damage to be done there, but also Pokemon like that haven't historically been amazing in VGC.
Right.
It's as opposed to singles, because you get access to more resources at one time to try and deal with it, and obviously Intimidate is. Strangely enough, Darmanitan is one of the Pokemon that actually still is affected by Intimidate.
I know, right?
So yeah, definitely interesting, and something that will wreck you on low ladder if you're not careful. But how good it actually is remains to be seen, especially with sand running everywhere.
True.
Yeah. Rillaboom is next on our list here. This is going to be a good Pokemon.
Yeah. It has Fake Out, it has U-Turn, it has
As
Knockoff.
soon as it gets its hidden ability, yeah.
Yeah, it has, Wood Hammer or Drum Beating is its signature move. And then it does have Grassy Surge for its hidden ability, like we were kind of hinting at. So once that gets released, I think it'll be very solid. I think it's still kind of good now. Like Fake Out U-Turn is very, very good. So I think it's like usable now, but once it does get Grassy Surge, it'll be even better.
Yeah, it is kind of a nice check to sand, actually, to resist the steel and the ground type moves at least. And then it can take on, you've always wanted to be able to hit Tyranitar from its physical side if possible. And drum beating is really good, wood hammer if you'd prefer the damage, but it certainly has applications. I think we'll see. It's just like one of those Pokemon that was designed to be supportive.
Yeah.
And it was actually, after a certain point, kind of hard to drag through the in-game because it didn't really get a lot of fun moves to use that do a lot of damage. But on the flip side of the spectrum in that regard is Cinderace, who does an awful lot of damage, and Pyro Ball is really cool. And obviously will need its hidden ability to be a relevant player.
Yeah, and once it gets Libero, it'll like match Greninja in terms of being able to hit with any type of move for stab, which is really strong. Pyro Ball gets a special mention because its animation is one of the best in the game.
It's awesome.
It's so cool. But yeah, I think Cinderace is cool. It's really, really fast. I believe it has Fake Out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know if it
maybe not.
does.
Okay, maybe not. I don't think it does. Actually, I think you're right. But it is fast. It has U-turn, Pyro Ball, a lot of really cool coverage moves. It's got a cool signature move called Court Change that probably won't be super relevant to doubles formats, or at least VGC, but it kind of flips every field condition on the field. So if you have Stealth Rock on your side and you use Court Change, it gets moved to their side. I've heard it works with screens. I've heard it works with Tailwind too. So that's kind of cool, but really cool effect that, obviously this is the first time we've had a move like that, but I'm not really sure it'll get much use.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The only thing that might impact that is that I know there's been some speculative discussion that the power of screens was buffed.
True, yeah.
So if they actually do have damage now, then you might see a battle for screens be a little bit more applicable. So yeah, you will note here, please note here that we are not talking about Inteleon. This is not an unintentional omission. It's not good. Don't use it. Next on the list though is Greedent, which is surprisingly viable, given that it is one of those early route normal types that don't typically see the light of day, the worst of which is of course Watchog. But Greedent is effectively, because it does get Belly Drum.
Yep.
It does get Gluttony.
Well,
it does get a very high HP stat.
Gluttony is actually worse than Cheek Pouch.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you use Cheek Pouch Citrus, you'll heal the full from half.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so Gluttony is actually not as good.
So anyway, Greedent is effectively what Snorlax was previously.
Right. You can Belly Drum back to full on the same turn.
Right. Because Snorlax actually can't do that anymore because the 50% berries got nerfed. I didn't even think about that. Anyway, all my notes here about Greedent are wrong. Greedent is actually better than Snorlax. You've heard it here first. Greedent is better than Snorlax. It has basically similar stats across the board. It has a slightly higher defense stat and then lower HP and lower special defense. But it's usable as a Snorlax replacement. So if you're one of those people that really just doesn't want to have meta Pokemon on your team, you can use Greedent. You can use it.
The thing
is an appropriate replacement for Snorlax.
We don't need a Snorlax replacement though, because Snorlax is in the game. It's still here.
No, it's not. Snorlax is gone. We don't want it anymore. Greedent is your new god.
All right. Well, that brings us to Corviknight, which I kind of mentioned I was a really big fan of. I think Mirror Armor is a really, really, really cool ability. It bounces back the effects of certain stat dropping moves or abilities. Intimidate's a big one. You, instead of taking -1, you give them -1. It works
does that apply to the does your partner get intimidated if that gets switched in?
Yes. So it doesn't protect your partner. It's like Magic Coat.
Okay, thank God.
So it's not broken. That would have been pretty crazy, but it's a really good ability. It also works against moves. So if you get Icy Winded, they would take -1 speed. It works for secondary effects and moves. So if you get Liquidation, for example, and you get a defense drop, it actually drops their defense instead of yours.
Oh, okay.
So really neat. I think it's going to be a pretty good Tailwind user. I also really, really, really like the Bulk Up Roost set. I think Bulk Up Roost...
In VGC?
Well, I've been using it in doubles at you, but same kind of principle. I was talking to someone else about it, yeah. But it's really fat. It's kind of surprisingly fat. And if you run Roost, it's pretty easy to keep yourself healthy, and then you can run something
And you can intimidate it. Huh.
Yeah, you can intimidate it. You can run something like Body Press, which is a new move. It's a fighting type move that actually uses your defense stat instead of attack for the damage calc.
What?
So when you're boosting your defense with bulk up, you're boosting the power of body press too, and not just the attack. So it's pretty cool.
Oh my! I didn't know about that move.
Yeah.
So that means I wonder if Wooloo gets it.
Oh my God! Stop. Stop,
'Cause
Brendan. Moving on.
Then you can use Cotton Guard. Okay. The next Pokemon on our list, I need to go look that up, is Orbeetle. I don't know if you added this to the list or if I did, but if I added it, it's simply because it has a G-Max move that sets gravity, which is always, kind of one of those things. Gravity's it's like one of those things where you rarely actually want to spend a lot of time using it,
Uh-huh.
but if it was there, then sure. Like it's nice to have access or remove some of the variability from things that can happen. And if it's just a psychic type attack and oh good psych, it's there, then you may as well.
Yeah. I think that was you.
Okay, good. Well, then we won't talk any more about it. The next Pokemon on the list, actually much more important to talk about, is Barraskewda.
Yeah.
What?
It's super fast.
It's a really good swift swimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really fast. There's not going to be anything outspeeding it when it's in the rain. I think the only thing that I can think of that can actually get there is Unburden Excelgor.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I checked the speed tiers, and that's like the only thing that can actually get there. So you can, even just go adamant with it. But anyway, it's a physical swift swimmer, and of course we know weather is going to be really interesting. With sand being, pretty centralizing, rain is going to be really good, and then of course the max moves can reset weather. So Barraskewda is one of those things that can come in and like use max. What's the water one called?
Geyser.
Max Geyser, and then have its own rain and be really threatening.
It also gets Propeller Tail, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a copy of Stalwart in that it what's the word I'm looking for? Ignores redirection. So if you want to run that on rain instead of Swift Swim, like you're already super fast.
Gastrodon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You bypass Gastrodon, you can knock it out. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, I imagine if you target the Gastrodon, it would still damage it. I think it's still that same effect. Even if it's not, though, you can water move the partner, which Gastrodon likes to protect, so that's pretty cool.
Right, yeah. I think Barraskewda is neat. I think one of the things that has held back, Swift Swimmers is the lack of a secondary type that would, give it access to a second stab move.
Uh-huh.
But it does get decent coverage. It has close combat and poison jab, and everything gets liquidation now,
Yeah.
so it gets to use that instead of waterfall, which was, previously the water move that most Pokemon had to default to. So it's a cool Pokemon. I think it'll definitely see play. It is not a Ludicolo replacement, but it is kind of like a different way of playing rain,
Right.
which is interesting. Next on our list here is Toxtricity, which is one of those. I think it's fringe. Punk Rock is a really cool ability. I would love to see more Pokemon have like flavor-based abilities like that that are unique to them. That allows for abilities to be a little bit better because of the limited distribution. But it's like kind of a cool Pokemon. Poison electric typing is obviously unique. It does a lot of damage. I'm not convinced it's going to be that good, but
I think Overdrive
interested to
is kind of a neat move. It's a spread electric move that's it's boosted by Punk Rock. So it might be kind of interesting, but it's a unique typing. It's the first electric poison we've had, so that's notable at least. And
yeah.
there are very few like good electric types in this game that I've noticed. So if that becomes a niche that needs to be filled, I think Toxtricity might be a decent choice.
Yeah, I think it was you that I was talking to the other day, where I was talking about Pinkerton,
Yeah.
which we'll get to in just a minute, and I was like, set electric terrain so that we can have Jolteon sweep.
Yeah.
And I guess like Toxtricity could theoretically also do that, but Pinkerton is no Tapu Koko.
Yeah.
and Toxtricity is no Alolan Raichu is basically the point here, but it still is, electric is a really strong offensive type, so theoretically you could see Toxtricity be powerful in the correct hands.
Yeah.
The next on our list is Centiskorch. Bugfire is a cool typing. Centiskorch carried me through the story mode, and it gets like Fire Lash and Lunge, and like all the moves that it would want. I don't know whether or not it does enough as a Pokemon other than just like have that typing
Mm-hmm.
to find its way onto most teams.
Yeah. I don't know. Like that typing is rough. Volcarona was really good in some formats, like despite the typing and not because of it. And
Right.
so it might be tough for Sun to Scorch. Like it does have cool moves. Like Fire Lash and Lunge are both really neat moves with cool secondary typings or
Hmm.
effects. But I'm not sure that it's going to be good
Yeah,
enough.
it doesn't really have any sort of like a support niche or anything that
Right.
it does well. I think it probably has I think it has wide guard or something like that. I think
I
that's
think it does. Yeah.
uh, but yeah, but it doesn't really do a whole lot other than that. Like it has struggle bug,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then obviously it has a unique or a G max move that traps. So it's like basically sets fire spin. So it's like it's good typing. It's got good stats, but it just like doesn't have, you know, the niche to allow it. Like you said, what's it called? Volcarona has a redirection set and also Quiver
Yeah.
Dance, which is like arguably one of the best moves in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Scorch has none of those
Yeah.
things. Although it's decent. Next on our list here is Poltegeist, which is Shell Smash the Pokemon. Like that's
Yeah.
that's effectively what it is here. Not only does it have Shell Smash, but it also has weak armor, which is like, you know, at least 2/3 of Shell Smash in ability. So it's kind of interesting in that like it will get away from you if you're not careful,
Yeah.
but it's not. It doesn't have a niche other than that.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like super scary to face. Like it's not super bulky at all. And
Hmm.
Shell Smash obviously is going to make it even less bulky. So I mean, like in some scenarios, maybe it'll like Shell Smash once and get a kill and then get knocked out. So who knows? But
Right.
nothing, past that.
It does have tea time though.
Thank God. Saving grace.
That's like one of those meme things,
Yeah.
where it basically just makes everything that's on the field eat its berry,
Right.
which is so funny. So like you could have meme strategies where if you want to like make something eat a slack berry or like
Right.
whatever you
If you
could
want
think
to
of to
pop
do
your Haluchas
with
on
tea
burden or
time.
something.
I wonder if it just like if it just makes you consume a resist berry, like even if it's not being like,
Oh, I
I
wonder.
wonder
Yeah.
if it just makes you blow the resist berry or something like that. That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Next on our list here is Hatterene, which is one that I think is actually going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty bulky. It has magic bounce and it's got trick room. So it'll be a pretty solid trick room setter. It's got some decent special attack too, so who
mhm.
knows?
And it also has its unique move is like a psychic type soak,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which is really cool.
Hmm.
You know, soak has always kind of been limited by its distribution, where like there were times where Tapu Fini was running it quite a bit. I don't know about water is I don't know how often you'd want to be making things psychic type, I guess.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's a cool Pokemon with magic bounce, meaning that you know it can't be taunted
Yep.
um, when it tries to set up trick rooms. So it's interesting. Also, I love Hattrem.
They all
Great
look kind of
Pokemon.
cool.
Super cute.
Yeah.
Super cute. Um, we've got Grimmsnarl, which I touched briefly on earlier. I think Grimmsnarl is going to be really good. And I was kind of surprised that it didn't show up more on the ladder,
Mhm.
but it's like this Pokemon where like all the pranksters previously have been like bulk or like frail Pokemon that don't have any offensive stats. Like you always see them running like foul play or something like that, and their whole like role is as an annoyer.
Yeah.
And now we have Grimmsnarl, who not only can annoy the hell out of you with some of the moves that it gets, but is also going to like hit you really hard with Play Rough or Spirit Break, which is its unique move.
Mhm.
So we haven't seen a prankster user be this threatening before in like other roles.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it has, I think it's gonna have very distinct sets. So, like the prankster set is gonna be like a more supportive one. And I'm blanking on its other abilities right now, but I think it has a better one that you would use.
It has Frisk and Pickpocket, so I'm not sure
Oh,
that it
maybe not.
does.
I guess Frisk isn't bad if you're not using any status moves.
Yep.
But it does have the capability to um, do a lot of damage, like you said. It does have that G-Max move as well that'll put both opponents to sleep. So it's pretty
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like you could theoretically run a set that's like fake out Thunder Wave and then like a Fairy and a Dark
Yeah.
type move. Um, Also, just to reiterate, you know how different this is from some of the other pranksters we've had in the past, they literally gave it unique moves for both of its
Yeah.
stabs. Like, why? It
Right.
doesn't need that.
Like Spirit Break
They just like
and Surrender.
and
Is that what it's called?
false surrender,
Yeah.
are both physical moves. Spirit break lowers special attack, and then false surrender doesn't miss. It has perfect
Cool.
accuracy. Because I mean, this is just like the chosen child of Game Freak going.
I guess there's
forward
one
into
every
this
generation that gets blessed.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Aegislash was nerfed this.
Oh,
This
it's the only one that got nerfed. The only Pokemon
Yeah.
that had stat drops is Aegislash.
Aegislash was the chosen child
Okay.
though, and got kind of brought back down. a
Yeah,
little
for
bit.
those unaware, Aegislash dropped 10 in defense and special defense, which means it translated to like a -10 in blade form for the attacks as well. And King
It
Shield
was
got
deserved.
nerfed, so
Deserved.
yeah, probably.
Deserved. Next on our list is Cursula.
Corsola.
Not Corsola. Cursula.
Well, Corsola, I want
Uh,
to talk about that too, because Corsola is actually pretty good.
Oh, look at its stats! Oh my god, I never even looked at that. Oh my god.
Galarian.
Okay.
Before we get off track, Galarian Corsola is actually pretty solid in singles right now. It's super fat and is really annoying, like typing and moves. So it's actually
Yeah.
kind of making waves in OU right now, which is kind of weird for Corsola.
But it only has Curse Body. It doesn't have Perish Body.
right, yeah.
that's-
Well, it only has
that's
weak armor
okay.
right now. I don't think the hidden abilities are.
Oh, Curse
available.
Body's unreleased. Interesting. Okay.
But go off on
But
Corsola.
anyway, Cursula has a unique ability to it called Perish Body, which when a Pokemon contacts it, it basically sets Perish Trap for both Cursula and the Pokemon that attacked it. So it's not field wide; it's just for the two Pokemon.
Yeah.
But that is, it's like one of those Pokemon where you can set up, an end game for yourself by being slow and forcing something to like hit you with a move, and then you can win. And then it also has base 145 special attack, base 130 special defense, and I think I alluded to this at some point when we were talking briefly about Trick Room, but it's another one of those Pokemon that's like min-maxed in such a way that its speed is like 0. It has 30 base speed and gets all these other stats
Right.
elsewhere because of the fact that the stats are, distributed in like a min-max sort of
Yeah.
way. So it's one of those Pokemon that can, both be a threatening Trick Room attacker, and then if you touch it, it will kill you.
Literally.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool Pokemon. I like Cursula.
Oh wait, and Corsola is like the lore of it is that it is the way it is because of rapid climate change, and so.
Oh yeah, I was yeah.
I
global
love that they
warming.
like wove climate change
Pokemon
into these
after
games
Jake's
in
own
multiple
heart,
ways.
yeah.
Like Weezing is like an air purifier. Cursula
Yep.
is like a product of climate change, and then climate change was like a very strong underlying theme in the story too. And
Right,
as an
yeah.
atmospheric scientist studying climate and climate change, I was very happy about that.
Mhm. The game was made for you.
I
Jake.
know.
Next on our list is Berserker. This was something that I felt that needed mention, just because it is a steel type with fake out, which is a niche that I don't think we have had in the past. I'm trying to think if there was,
I don't think there is.
anything. I don't think there is either. But anyway, it also gets an ability called Steely Spirit. Which is basically like I honestly don't know the math on it, but it's like Fairy and Dark Aura, but for Steel type moves. So it's definitely one of those Pokemon that has like meme potential. Like if you wanted to set Trick Room and then throw Berserker and what's the elephant called?
Caparaja.
Caparaja onto the field and like spam Steely Spirit. Like it has application.
I'm not gonna lie. The first time I saw Berserker, I didn't realize that it was
Design
evolved.
is I hate it.
Well, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
bad, but I literally thought it was just Meowth. It said Berserker.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It
Yeah,
said
yeah.
Berserker, and
No,
I was like,
it's-
why did they not change Meowth at all?
Yeah, it's kind of ugly. I'm not a huge
Mhm.
fan. Design wise, and I wouldn't touch it competitively either. I just want to point that out. Mr. Rhyme is the next Pokemon on our list.
Yeah.
Like this whole both Mr. Mime and Mr. Rhyme just cracked me up.
I think the only
And,
reason we ever would talk about Mr. Rhyme is if those screens did get buffed because its ability
Right.
removes
it
them
doesn't
on
do anything
switches, which
else.
is kind of neat. Screen cleaner
I mean,
is new, but
yeah, and then if that does, if you do end up wanting it for Screen Cleaner to try and nullify that, it still has, the whole support
Right, yeah, it has fake out and like
move
icy
pool
wind
that
and
Mr.
helping
Run,
hand
yeah,
and some cool
screens
stuff.
itself,
Yeah.
ally switch. You know, it has all those things
Mhm.
that you can do if you felt inclined to
Yeah.
bring it for screen cleaner, basically. Um, Next Pokemon on our list is Pinkerton, which I had to talk Jake into having on this
It
list.
looks terrible.
Pinkerton, I love. I think it's adorable.
It's like
I
kind
love
of cute, but it
Pinkerton.
looks like it's just gonna be trash.
Yeah, it's again another one of those Pokemon that got min-maxed really hard, where
Well,
speed was, you
it got
know,
minned really
the
hard. I wouldn't say it got maxed really hard.
it has stats though. I
Some.
mean, like it got the physical attacking moves that it needs, you know, to be relevant to have the 101 attack it does, and then 91 special attack. You know, that's like not too far below where Tapu Koko sits.
Well, yeah, I was
And
gonna say it was.
I mean, from a purely offensive standpoint, I'm not trying to compare it with Tapu Koko necessarily, but like I don't think it's gonna be bad. I think the problem is like if you actually want to have an electric surge based team, first of all, you have to use this slow thing, and then you have to figure out, you know, what other electric type
Yeah.
is good enough to warrant, you know, having a team built around using electric
Right.
surge.
I do think it's kind of funny that they took their first electric surge user, Coco, and they said, "Oh, we
Mhm.
made it super fast last time, so let's just take it and give it similar stats, but drop the speed to 15."
To the very opposite
Right.
extreme.
Yeah. So that's how they came up with
Uh,
Pinkerton.
Pinkerton is a distant cousin for Tapu Koko.
Twice removed.
They look somewhat
Yeah.
similar. Pinkerton is like that cousin that Tapu Koko doesn't talk to in the family reunions.
Uh-huh.
Next Pokemon on our list is Frostmoth. I love
I do
Frostmoth.
too.
I love Frostmoth almost as much as I love Snom.
Snob is adorable. I never want
I
to
love
hurt.
Snom
I
so
need to
much.
protect him.
There was a Twitter account that I spent too much time on earlier today called Snom Posting, where it's just like shit posts with Snom in it.
That's amazing.
Highly recommend. But anyway, I as much as I love Frostmoth, like I just don't know what you could possibly do to a bug and ice
I
type
know.
to make it in a
It
competitive
like
format.
having two quad weaknesses to like pretty common types is super bad.
Yeah, and it's just like they tried
They
so
even
hard.
gave it like
they
a
gave it this
broken
unique
ability.
Yeah, like a super good ability. They gave it Quiver Dance. It has like every ice
And
move.
Tailwind too.
It has Wide Guard even. It has Helping Hand. It has Struggle. So it has all these. I'm assuming it has Aurora Veil. So they gave it all these things for it to be supportive. And I just don't think it's gonna I don't think it's gonna get there as much as I would like it to.
Right.
It just like being an ice bug type, like you could bring an Onyx in and use Rock Throw, and it's like gonna get knocked out by Onyx using its Rock Throw. And like I love the Pokemon, but it's just like as somebody who loves ice types, I just like it's gonna be hard to justify.
Well, speaking of ice types,
Speaking of ice types, we do have this new Pokemon. Speaking of blessings.
oh no.
Um,
I seem
there's
to
a
be
new
the
Pokemon
one
called-
person that feels this way. I'm pretty sure I'm like the single very vocal minority here.
There's this fantastic new Pokemon called Ice Cube, and it is a penguin, and it has a unique ability called Ice Face, where every time, like the first time it gets contacted by a physical move, it takes no damage for it, and then it busts its Ice Face, and then after that, it can take damage. And the ability is reset by hail coming onto the field. And Ice Cube also has Belly Drum, and when it has its Ice Face busted, its speed goes up to 130 base. So it's this Pokemon that theoretically, after 2 turns, with using Dynamax and Belly Drum, and then using Max Ice. What is it called? Ice? Is it just called Max Ice?
I don't remember actually.
Hailstorm.
Oh,
Max
yeah.
Hailstorm. You can be at +6, be 130 base speed, and then have your ability reactivated so that you don't take damage from the next physical.
Well, if it
Now, is it gonna be good?
reactivates,
No,
you won't be
but
at
this-
base 130 speed anymore.
Oh god damn it!
I need
this
to
ruins
say
everything.
I hate this thing aesthetically. I think
It's great. Aesthetically,
only
it is
aesthetically.
flawless.
The ice face itself is fine. It looks like really dopey, But like for like a gimmick, like Ice Face ability meme thing, sure, whatever, that's fine. But when its face breaks, when its ice face breaks, the face underneath is trash. I hate it. It looks like a cartoon that a third grader would draw. It's like
Well,
its eyes are like half the size of its head, and it looks like a really, really, really bad cartoon. If it's just like a normal penguin head, I'd be totally cool with it.
just think about like how you would feel if you spent most of your time with an ice cube on your head. Okay, so first of all, your face doesn't look normal anymore, and then somebody takes away the ice cube that's on your head.
My head wouldn't
like,
be an ellipsoid. like a light blue ellipsoid that looks like just a block of ice you'd pull out of your fridge.
What is an ellipsoid?
It's a sphere, but like an ellipse, like elongated. You know, it's like a 3D ellipse.
I call that an ovaloid.
No, you don't.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's actually going to be good.
Me neither.
I think it definitely has meme potential. Yeah. The first thing I looked for was whether or not it got ice shard, because I thought that's something that would have kind of pushed it in a more positive direction. But it doesn't have, stats to really write home about. Oh, wait, yes it does. It has 110 defense and 90 special defense. Okay, so anyway, it can stand up to things, but it doesn't have coverage, which is something that ice types can suffer from. Like, you really need to have a strong, like Abomasnow, second type to really kind of like utilize the offensive capabilities of ice the best, and it gets to use like Zen Headbutt or something like that. It gets head smash, but like
no.
it gets liquidation, but like using non-stab water moves is not usually the most fantastic of ideas. So anyway, it's like one of those Pokemon that's super cool. The design, like, you can see what they were going for, but I don't think you'll get crushed by it on low ladder. That's it. We spent a lot of time talking about Ice Cube. Holy moly! Next Pokemon on our list is Indeedee, which is your new Tapu Lele with better support moves.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got Psychic Surge. It's got Follow Me, which is really, really neat. It has Heal Pulse as well. Fake Out, yeah. But a Fake Out with Psychic Surge. It sets Trick
Room, I believe.
No, it can't. Yeah. It can't have Follow Me and Trick Room.
So interesting. Is it the two different, the male and the female?
Yes, the male and female have slightly different stats and slightly different move pools. The female gets Follow Me, and the male gets Trick Room, but neither of them get the other one.
Okay, that is well designed.
Yeah, Trick Room and Follow Me on the same arm would be crazy.
Yeah, that needs to not happen. But still, I think they can both have Fake Out. So we still have Fake Out, Follow Me. We still have Fake Out, Trick Room, and then both of them can have Psychic Surge. So it's this Pokemon that it's funny. They did well to set out to design a supportive Pokemon and actually connect. Because my point being that they've tried outwardly to create support Pokemon in the past. The first thing that I think of is Audino. Where it's like, this is a supportive Pokemon, we want it to be on the field next to something else and supporting its friends, and Audino has never seen the light of day. But Indeedee is something where they were like, okay, we're going to give it all these support moves, and they did it. It's going to be good, I think. It just has like too many tools to not see some use. Copperajah is next on our list. I personally don't think it's going to see too much play.
It looks kind of cool.
It has it is it's really, its design is really cool. It does have Heavy Metal Heavy Slam, which is definitely notable.
Yeah, that makes its Heavy Slam
off
stronger
130
than
attack.
Just for the record.
Right. Yeah. So that's a spammable move into just about everything. And then it does have a unique G-Max move that sets Steel type Stealth Rocks, basically. I don't know why you would necessarily need that, especially in doubles, but there it is.
I do think one of the funniest things I've seen about Copperajah so far was a tweet from Rajan that said, friendly reminder that naming your Copperajah after me is a microaggression. And I laughed really hard at that.
Oh, I need to go find that.
It was so
tweet. Good. Okay, next on our list is the fossils, which are great. I
They
love
all
them.
like wish for
Um,
death, which I find hilarious.
well, they all definitely do, and like this, I think I talked about it a little bit earlier, where they basically like are designed to look
Yeah.
awful and look like suboptimal, and their their Pokedex entries
Yeah.
reflect that. Like the one that I think of is Arctovish, talks about how um, like when things touch its face, they freeze it, so it does a great job at like incapacitating prey, but its mouth is on the top of its head, so it can't actually eat anything after it freezes it.
Poor guy.
And I just brought the page up. Its other one is the skin on its face is impervious to attack, but breathing difficulties made this Pokemon go extinct anyway. It's just like, please
Yeah.
kill me.
I saw again talking about funny tweets related to these Pokemon. There was a tweet from Aaron Trailer
Yeah.
that said, welcome to Galar. 300, or
Oh, I
it
know
was
which one.
396
Yeah.
of 400 Pokemon. Welcome to Galar, and then the fossils were like in this weird fancy font and said, "I crave death."
Yeah.
It's so good.
But anyway, competitively, apparently Dracozolt is already seeing
Yeah.
some play, which is interesting. We talked briefly about it, but they all have signature
Mhm.
moves. I think the electric type ones have the electric one, and then the water type ones have
Correct.
the water one.
Yeah, Bolt Beak and
where
Vicious
if-
Rend.
Yes, vicious,
With an
vicious,
F.
not vicious,
Yeah.
vicious with an F.
Fishiest.
If they move second, then their power is
That's
doubled from 85. If they
Yeah.
move first, sorry, if they move first, their power is doubled from 85 to 170.
Which is kind of cool because they also all
just, like,
have
straight
a
doubled.
speed boosting ability in weather. Like the electric
Right.
ones both have Sand Rush, and the water ones have
Mhm.
Slush Rush.
Yeah, so they definitely have the potential to be a little scary, like if not managed correctly. And obviously, there's all sorts of speed control options, and they all are, I believe, susceptible to intimidate, which is something that needs to be said now. But the electric one having Hustle is really scary. I think that's probably the reason that we've seen it. I imagine that Hustle, when you manage to hit Bolt Beak, does a million
Right.
damage to anything.
I think I misspoke. I
And
think I
then-
said electric and ice, but I meant the Draco ones have Sand Rush, and the Arcto ones
Yes.
have Slush Rush. That's how it works.
Yes, yeah.
But I've heard people say
Yeah.
that Vicious Rend is actually a bite move, and I think one of them has Strong Jaw, which would be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
Dracovish
Yeah, so
does, yeah.
Dracovish getting Strong Jaw with Vicious Rend is pretty neat.
Yeah, so they all kind of have these like conditional ways to do a lot of
Mhm.
damage, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting. I am eagerly anticipating them to get Slush Rush because Abomasnow does not have any partners that can rush alongside it in this generation other than Beartick, which you will never ever see in my team builder. I
Wow.
just like both competitively and aesthetically do not like Beartick. So it can find its way into somebody else's team builder by all means. I'm sure Chef
I
will
bet.
try it. He's a big Slush Rush guy, but you will not find it in my builder. Anyway, bottom line, fossils this generation super cool. Next Pokemon on our list is Duraludon, which seems like it's going to be quite.
I think
big.
it'll be good. I think it'll be a pretty like generic damage dealer. I don't think it'll have many like crazy good matchups or crazy bad matchups. And I think it'll be able to pump out somewhat consistent damage, kind of like a reliable pick on
Mhm.
some teams.
Yeah, I think you can I think that's exactly what it is. It's kind of like when people were going through like a 6-mon for chalk or something like
Right.
that, where you just needed to like do a lot of damage or patch a specific matchup, and it has Steel Beam and like base 120 special attack, so it's like the first like real steel special attacker that we have other than
Yeah.
Magearna, I think.
It's also like not
So it has that
slow.
niche.
I
Yeah, no, it's 85,
right, that's
I think,
correct.
right?
I thought it was really
It
slow.
looks
at
like it
first
would be slow.
when I was like playing through the
Yeah,
game.
you would think it would
and I
be.
was outspeeding my whole team,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Why is this happening?"
Yeah. Also, if you were unaware, the popular TV show The Office actually takes place inside Gigantamax Duraludon. It's a little known fact.
Why?
Uh,
That wasn't even. That's not the meme I
Uh,
tweeted either. Like it was. Oh my god. I thought it looked like Prism
yeah,
Tower
so-
from the Gen 6 games.
yeah. So basically, Gigantamax Duraludon is just like an office building. Like that's what it is.
It's in Scranton,
Um,
Pennsylvania as well.
Yes,
Oh
it
my
is. That's where
God.
it's located. So yeah, that's Duraludon. Sorry for derailing us a little bit. And I think the last new Pokemon that we're going to talk about before we touch
Yeah.
briefly on a couple of the Gigantamaxes is Dragapult. And I talked a little bit about it, where like when we were first getting information, everybody was like, it's not going to be any good. You know, Dragon types haven't been good for quite a while without a specific
Hmm.
niche. Like the best Dragon type is Salamence, and that's more because it's a flying type than it's a Dragon type. And then all of a sudden, the details about the way the Dragon darts work started to trickle out, and
Well,
people all of a sudden seemed like Dragapult is actually going to be pretty good. It's definitely got the stat spread to do a lot of damage, and Dragon Darts is kind of like the icing on the cake at
I
this
don't
point.
actually think Dragon Darts is going to be used very often.
Dragon
Like it's a cool move that has a
Darts.
lot of really cool interactions apparently, but I kind of think the support sets and the special sets will be more common. And even if you do use a physical set, you'll probably just opt for Dragon Claw because it's more damage against one target. Um,
I will always
like
use
maybe on
Dragon
like
Darts.
Band or something, you can use Dragon Darts as a blast move, but I don't know. It's got
Mhm.
Clear Body, which is really good. It has Dragon Dance as
Yep.
well, so it can make pretty good use of that. Uh,
Yeah, and then it has like U-turn
yeah,
screens,
Will-O-Wisp.
uh, ally
Yeah,
switch,
so it's got some pretty cool stuff.
Dragon Tail. Yeah, so it gets like all these moves. Definitely a lot of ways to
Hmm.
use it, and then it does have this pseudo stat spread with insane speed, where it's basically only going to be outsped by like
Yeah.
Swift Swimmers. It'll probably outspeed a lot of things that like to use Choice Scarf at base
Hmm.
142, and then it has the attack and the special attack to go along with defenses that are not terrible given the high
Right.
stats it has in all the other places. So definitely kind of an interesting Pokemon. Cool design
Yeah.
too. I like Dragapult. I feel like a lot of the pseudos in the past are just like, I mean, I guess with the exception of Goodra, are taking themselves too seriously.
see that,
And, like
yeah.
a little bit like crazily designed. And Dragapult, they were just kind of like, you know what? It's gonna shoot its base form out of its ears. Like that's
I
what we
think
want.
Dragonite was a good one too, like the OG. But after that, yeah, I can
like
see
a little
that.
derpy, definitely. And just briefly to touch on a couple of the G Maxes that we have here, it seems like mostly they're not going to be too relevant because they just kind of like inflict a status change.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't worth
like
losing like the normal Dynamax boost, I think.
right, yeah, and there are a couple that are sort of like on the fringe where like okay, Butterfree is good because it can be spread
Right.
sleep. Charizard has residual damage. Spread poison from
Garbodor. Like
Garbodor.
Grimmsnarl is spread
Um,
sleep guaranteed, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, so some of them are good, or can be good at least. As far as some of the ones that seem like they actually will be good, is Gigantamax Kingler has a move, I believe it's called Foam Burst. I should have written these down. It's foam something where it harshly lowers the speed for everything on the opposing
Yeah.
side of the field. So that is notable because it's effectively the only move that does that and also deals
Mhm.
damage. String Shot does it, but doesn't
Yeah.
deal damage. And then you've got Kingler, which is water type and dealing water type spread damage and also lowering speed. So
Well,
that's
the
notable.
damage itself isn't
Um,
spread. Yeah.
That's true. The speed drop, I
Yeah,
believe,
yes,
so
it
it's
is.
for everything on that side of the field. Gigantamax Lapras sets Aurora Veil with its Gigantamax move, which is notable, especially if these rumors of the buffed screens ends up being true, and if it also applies to Aurora Veil, which was already pretty good, and now you take away the need to have Hail up, and you've got yourself quite a move there. And then the final one is Gengar, which is a little bit more notable than the other two because it's actually a good Pokemon.
Right.
If you take away the Gigantamax move and its G-Max move, Terror, I believe it's called, is a Ghost type move that traps the
Yeah,
target.
it's basically a Shadow
Um,
Tag.
But it's not spread, I don't think. I think it's just one target, isn't it? It's like Mean Look.
I'm actually not sure.
I want to say
I thought
that-
the trapping
let me
effect was
look,
for
I have it up
everything.
here. Let me see. What is it called? Terror. Ghost type attack. This Pokemon steps on the opposing Pokemon's shadow to prevent them from escape. Okay, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really indicate.
Either way, though, it's kind of
Come
cool.
on, Cerebeach.
And like you said, it is of these three that we just mentioned, it's definitely the best without Gigantamax too. So you're not really losing much.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
also Gigantamax
And
Gengar
then-
also kind of looks like Mega Gengar, which is kind of funny because they gave
It
it,
does.
a trap,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
cool.
kind of like a throwback.
The Max Ooze on Gigantamax Gengar is really, or
Yeah.
even just Dynamax Gengar is really good. Boost special
Mhm.
attack. to make Gengar, and it also got nasty
Oh
bot while
yeah.
we're talking about Gengar because dear God, Gengar wasn't good enough. Just give it Levitate
Oh,
back at
please.
this point, and you put it back to where you want it. All right, so that's our whole list. As far as the new Pokemon go, I think we basically, obviously we didn't talk about everything. There, some admissions, like obviously we're not expecting to see more Pico running around doing anything notable in most VGC games. We touched on just about everything. Obviously there, are some, we talked about niche Pokemon, but you can find niches for, even some of the other stuff that we
Mhm.
didn't talk about. The niche is just very small and probably will require team
Yeah.
support. So these are some of the things that we expect to be, a little bit
Yeah.
more common.
Obviously, we didn't talk about any of the returning
Um,
Pokemon as well. That would be much too
Right.
large of a task to cover in one episode. But
Right, but we will have all sorts of those sorts of elements of
right.
discussion popping up as we continue to do the
Yep.
ladder. We start to get 2020 live events. Of course, as soon as the rules are released, we'll have a feature on that. But for now, we're going to just touch on the new Pokemon. These are the things that are most exciting to me,
Yeah.
at least right now. So I think it's
Yeah, I think it's
applicable.
fair.
Galar is fun. These games are
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
These games are great.
Well, that
All right, so that's
that
going to
brings us to
wrap up our
uh,
Pokemon discussion for the week as we talk
Yeah.
over each other. As we go into our weekly
Yay.
music, and of course, we are the experts on this episode. We don't have anybody with us, so we will talk just about our own music choices, and we don't have questions for ourselves. So, Jake, your
My music is somewhat of a throwback. Not really a throwback because she's pretty current still, but I started listening to Lorde a lot more this week. I love both of her albums. I know that a lot of my friends are really high on melodrama still, but I actually kind of like Pure Heroine a little bit more. I think they're both phenomenal albums. I've been listening to Pure Heroine on repeat this entire week. I just
Those were your in-game team.
yeah,
names
yeah.
too,
I named
right?
all my Pokemon in Sword and Shield that I was using after Pure Heroine songs. So really, I love her voice. I love her songs. Melodrama is also very good. So recommend.
Mine for this week is a little farther out there. There's this group called Dizzy that I believe the genre is called Dream Pop. It's not something that I'm super familiar with, but I'm starting to like dabble in a little bit more because I think this group is really good. But there's the group is called Dizzy. It's just kind of like these like sort of like ethereal like electronic sounds, and then the lead singer has this like very nice and calm voice that makes me happy to listen to. And we all need a little shot of serotonin
Is it
here and
is
there.
it ethereal
So
desperation like Gorgeist?
ethereal desperation would be a good way to describe the sound of this music. But the album that I've been listening to is called
Cool.
Baby Teeth. Although I suppose they have a new EP out, but I haven't listened to that yet. So yeah, that is going to wrap up our content for this week. So as per usual, we are going to take just a brief break before we come back to you in just a couple seconds after our little musical interlude, and then we'll wrap up this week's episode. So don't go anywhere for the next couple of seconds. We've got a couple minutes of Soundproof left. You can stay for the
You made
last
it
couple
this far,
minutes.
you may as well.
You may as well like listen to us say goodbye for this week. I know this is the time when I start to turn off podcasts, but don't do it. And we'll be back in just a minute. To those of you still listening, thank you so much for following directions. I'm sure your first grade teacher appreciates your ability to do that. But thanks for sticking with us. We hope you enjoyed our episode this week, which was our first as we foray into the Galar region here. And of course, we will continue to bring all the VGC coverage having to do with the Galar region as the information becomes available to us. We still don't have the rules. But as soon as we do, you'll be the first to hear. And until then, we will cover the ladder and try and keep tabs on what's going on in the meta for you, as we always do.
Yeah, it's been super fun to play through these new games. Been cool to see some of the teams people are making for these online formats. Super excited for the VGC 2020 season. I hope it'll be a fun format with some fun teams and fun Pokemon. So stick around. We'll definitely have all that covered for you as soon as we hear about it.
Definitely, and continue to follow all of us, both of us, on social media. I
All
said
two
all
of us.
because I was thinking of the Soundproof account as well,
Right.
which is technically 3, which would move from both into all territory. But anyway, my Twitter is at MrBDog46VGC. And then Jake's is at @MajorBowman_, which I now know since I've been corrected earlier. And then, of course, at SoundproofCast is where you can find us on Soundproof.
Yes.
A brief moment to talk about the r/VGC subreddit.
Yes.
Please go there for all of your VGC resources. There are a whole bunch of people that are really dedicated to getting it off the ground. If you're a new player, that's going to be your place to go and ask questions. I think they have replay threads. They have for people looking for Pokemon bread, metagame discussions, tournament results. All of our podcasts go up there. That is going to be the place to be for your VGC coverage in text format. Of course, your place for VGC coverage in audio format is right here. But yeah, that's going to be the hub, so definitely go there. I know Jake's a mod, so I'm kind of plugging it for him, but I'm sure he can speak to it a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, no, you pretty much nailed it. We wanted to be a central spot to kind of collect links and that kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely go check it out. Like Brendan said, we'll be posting our stuff there and trying to support everyone else there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to our show this week. We're gonna be continuing to travel through the Galar region with you guys over the next year or so as we go forward into the VGC 2020 format. So we hope you're enjoying the games and you're getting ready to play competitive, because we sure are. We'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 12. We've got a whole bunch of good stuff planned for you. I think we've alluded to it a couple of times on the show, but we are planning a big kind of blowout for the end of Ultra Series in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. We're going to have a couple of different guests is what our plan is, so that we can really, give Ultra Series and restricted format 2019 as a whole the due that it deserves. So until episode 12, I'm Brendan, this is Jake, and thanks for listening to Soundproof.